I think this is finally the year where we can say iPadOS turned this thing into a computer. So what's up guys, it's me Pagi and I want to talk about the iPad Pro M5. I got myself the 11-inch version just to try it out, because in the past I had already the 13-inch M4. I was pleasantly surprised but not happy, and now I want to try the 11-inch. And what I want to do with this video today is answering two questions. Is the iPad Pro finally a computer? And should you get one? But before we dive in, let's just unbox it real quick. So let's first start with the display, because it is really pleasant to look at. It's an 11-inch tandem OLED display, which is just stunningly bright. With 1000 nits of sustained brightness, this thing gets crazy bright. You get 1600 nits on HDR content, which is even crazier, and it makes my TV looks like, not that great. The display is one of the main key features you should look at when you want to upgrade from an older version that is not OLED, so not the M4. Just to sum it up, you can go with either 11 or 13 inch, you will get the same tandem OLED display. So let's talk M5. So the M5 chip is where the iPad Pro's raw power really shows, especially if you actually push it. In DaVinci Resolve and all other editing apps, performance is excellent. 4K timelines stay smooth, scrubbing is responsive, and exports are consistently fast. More importantly, performance doesn't drop over longer sessions. No real throttling, no sudden slowdowns, and the iPad stays cool the entire time. At least for me. Gaming tells a similar story. Demanding titles run smoothly while stable frame rates, and longer sessions don't cause noticeable performance dips. However, the iPad will slow down over time and it will throttle over time because it's a thin device without a fan. In everyday tests, the M5 is completely overkill. Apps open instantly, multitasking is flawless, everything feels effortless. But it doesn't feel dramatically different from recent generations, just to be honest. Compare briefly to older chips. If you're coming from an M1 or an M2, the jump in sustained performance is real. From M4, the difference is mostly efficiency, not speed. That efficiency is the M5's biggest strength. You're getting high-end performance with controlled battery drain and a silent, fanless design. It also makes the iPad feel very future-proof. The hardware clearly isn't the limiting factor. The real question, once again, isn't the chip. It's whether iPadOS will fully let you use all of its power. With iPadOS 26, this is the closest the iPad has ever come to replacing a MacBook. And for my use, it actually can. Apple has finally leaned much harder into desktop-style workflows. Window management is more flexible, multitasking feels less restrictive, and working with multiple apps side by side is no longer something you consistently have to fight. With the keyboard and trackpad, the iPad now behaves much more like a real laptop than a tablet pretending to be one. Visually and functionally, iPadOS 26 feels closer to macOS than ever before. Menus, window behavior, background tasks, everything feels more familiar, more predictable, and more suited for real work. For everyday tasks, this is huge. For 99% of normal users, this iPad is more than enough as a main computer. And for me personally, that's the key point. With iPadOS 26 and the M5, I could realistically replace my MacBook for most of my work. The performance is there, the workflow finally makes sense, and the overall experience feels mature in a way it didn't before. That said, it's still not macOS. There's an edge case, niche apps and pro workflows where a Mac is still the better tool. But for the first time, the question isn't, can the iPad replace a laptop? It's, do you actually need a Mac anymore? And for most people, the answer is probably no. So, to sum everything up we've just talked about in this video, I just want to make sure that you don't make the same mistake as I did when I first got the iPad years ago. You have to make yourself clear, what do you want to do with that device? My first question would be, am I gonna use it just docked on the Magic Keyboard? Or am I also using it as an iPad? If the answer is no, I will not use it just in the Magic Keyboard, the first step is done. Because you also have to use it as an iPad. It's obvious, it's a hybrid device and you have to use both ways. So if you're just using it as a laptop, just ask yourself the question, why don't you just get a laptop or a MacBook or something if you just use it for what it is, a MacBook? The second question I want to answer, which size? 11-inch versus 13-inch. I know, the question is as old as the internet itself, because people are arguing a lot about what's the perfect size for the iPad. And honestly for me would be 12-inch. But yeah, we don't have 12-inch. Thank you, Apple. Thank you. If I want to use the iPad as a tablet first, I go with 11-inch. If you want to have a MacBook first and use it as a tablet as the second priority, you go with 13-inch. I think it's that easy. If I did something wrong, if you don't agree with something I just said, please let me know in the comments down below, because I am so curious about what other people think of my opinion, because I love tech and I know if you watch this video, you love it too. Let me know. 11-inch, 13-inch. Let me know. Can it replace a MacBook now? Can it replace a Mac? Can it replace DaVinci on Mac? Can it replace gaming? Thanks for watching the video. I will see you in the next one.